We ask which witch is which and sing Agatha all along, even though it's not even in the show yet, at least. On today's episode, Jeannine, you saw the new Brandy movie, The Front Room. I watched a new John Carpenter movie, at least to me. Anyway, all that and more, of course, on today's episode. Welcome back to the madness. Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine.
Hello.
Are we excited, Jeannine, to get a little bit into the spooky times? It is late September now. Do we want to start doing that? Is it appropriate to begin to talk about witches?
Oh yes, I definitely think the kickoff for me of spooky season was Friday the 13th, because it was also the official Freddy Krueger day. So, I think that was a perfect setup to say it is officially spooky season.
Yeah, I mean, we like to make it last as long as possible, don't we? We're not necessarily like people like to make Christmas last as long as possible.
Yeah, I'd rather just have spooky season last longer.
I mean, I do like the Christmas season, the holiday season, of course, but the fact that I did actually witness Christmas ornaments and things in shops in late August was beyond ridiculous.
No, that's too much. That's too much.
And just puts you off a little bit, and I just don't believe people should be put off by something like Christmas. But we're not talking about Christmas yet. We're a while off that yet.
Yes.
It is maybe the start of spooky season as we get into a bit of witchy conversation today. In our main discussion, we'll be talking those first two episodes of Agatha All Along, which is the first MCU thing I've seen in quite a while, admittedly. And we'll probably watch the whole thing, to be honest with you. I think I was intrigued and interested enough by the first couple of episodes there, but I think we should ask the question before we get into all that. Obviously, Jeannine. Sup, Jeannine?
Well, there are a couple things up, some sad things, just to start with.
Sad things.
Yeah, so we recently had the passing of James Earl Jones and Tito Jackson.
Yes, we haven't talked about this because we didn't have a show last week.
Yes,
very sad.
Yes, I mean, he was a huge voice. I mean, people know him for very specific roles. And I know recently we kind of kicked off the year with him, getting to see him in Field of Dreams. We also did The Great White Hope. So we definitely got to kind of branch out from the big roles that people really remember him from. So I like that we got to kind of, branch out in his work a little bit more before his passing.
It almost it almost annoys me a little bit, and it shouldn't, because people love specific people for specific things.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, these people are still paying their respects to someone as monumental as James Earl Jones, but he really very much isn't just Darth Vader and Mufasa, wonderful as he is in those voice roles. He is much more. Obviously, as you said, we did do Field of Dreams on Morgan Hasn't Seen in the very early part of the year, and maybe my favorite James Earl Jones performance is now in Field of Dreams. I love Field of Dreams. He is despicable to begin with in Field of Dreams.
Trying to hit people with crowbars,
and hilarious, but just so warm and heartful in that movie. And The Great White Hope that we did, obviously, on the main show as well, Oscar nominated for that. A devastating movie.
Oh, yeah.
But a really enormously powerful performance from James
Definitely.
Earl Jones.
Yeah, and that was the first kinda thing I'd seen him in as younger, because I only kind of knew
Yeah,
him in a very specific part of his career, so to get to kinda see him, all the way back then, really giving this heartbreaking performance,
yeah,
was
and I
really great.
think obviously the vast majority of people do know him for very specific things in a very specific part of his career, and he still means a great deal to
Yeah.
so many people because of that. I mean, how old was he? 93,
Yeah, like
something like that.
92, I think.
92.
Yeah, yeah, so I definitely like, I've been trying to figure out a way to get The Sandlot on Morgan Hasn't Seen, so you can see him in that as well. It's because I think it's very
Mm,
much his role in Field of Dreams made was a conscious thing to put him in this other baseball movie, a few years
okay,
later, so people love
okay.
him in The Sandlot as well, but,
But yeah,
yeah.
a massive loss from, a while ago now as this episode comes out, but we did frankly have to mention it. Um,
Yes, and not to put a damper on that, I think, also in his passing, a lot of people brought up old interviews of him having, not so flattering things to say about people like me, Black women, and having a bit of a controversial opinion about that, so I didn't wanna not mention that.
okay.
But, things like that, I think, don't take away from the work that he's done, so
No, no, nothing. Very few things take away
yeah,
from the work that you do unless you're an actual criminal,
yeah.
which of course he was very far from.
Yes.
Um, but you also mentioned Tito Jackson as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Brother of Michael Jackson, founding member of the Jacksons, or the Jackson 5, whatever you prefer to call them as. What's your favorite Jackson 5 era? Is it Jackson 5 or is it the Jacksons? Hmm,
Yeah.
interesting. Do you even know the difference? I don't know. I don't know the difference.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
know
I
what
really
they
thought that much
released as the
about it.
Jacksons or as the 5. I don't know what they
I wanna say
released
the
either.
Jacksons was more leaning into a disco kind of era a little bit
Then
more, I think.
I probably am more the Jacksons then
Yeah,
than
because
the
Dancing
5.
Machine was the Jacksons, right?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. However, I can say that that is a significant loss for the
Yeah.
music world as well, and particularly the style of music or one of the styles of music that we both mutually quite enjoy.
Yes.
And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it just feels like it kinda
sad,
came out of
sad as
nowhere, but
well.
yeah.
Definitely. I think he was only like 70,
Yeah, it wasn't,
so
as old as James
it's
Earl
not
Jones.
super
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
No, I think once people are in the 90s, I feel like that's still an age that everybody can say,
You lived a
"Good
life.
life.
Yeah.
You've lived a life." But it seems like if you're 87, it's like,
No,
gotta
you
squeeze a
could've
few
yeah, a
more
little
years
more
out there.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
But 1991, it's like there's only 4 years difference there. What
Right?
does that 9
Doesn't
really
really
make
make a
so much
difference, but
difference?
yeah, but in your head, it sounds like a lot, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, of course, rest in
Yeah.
peace to both those wonderful men there as we start off somberly today's
Yes.
episode of Monday Madness. But get right in to this new movie that you've seen, Jeannine. I mean, this is
Yes.
The Front Room.
Yeah, so this was kind of a big talk just in the fact that, like, I feel like, you know, Brandy's character in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is kind of this cult favorite character amongst horror fans, and she's a favorite final girl. I've done a ton of videos talking about Black final girls, and she's always up there for me. So when people were talking about this film, people were excited because, oh, it's Brandy's kind of return to the horror genre. The
Yeah.
film looked pretty campy. It's basically, this interracial couple. Brandy's pregnant, and her husband are kind of struggling a little bit. And when her husband's father dies, his last wish was for them to take in his stepmother, who's incredibly religious, played by Kathryn Hunter. Um, and so they take her in, and when they're trying to show her to her room upstairs, she doesn't wanna be in there. She's like, "I can't get up those stairs." Like, she's this crazy, kind of very deep Southern, super religious lady. And she's like, "What's this room right here?" Like, the room in the front room of the house. And they're like, "Well, that's the nursery." She's like, "Well, it's my room now." And she kinda ends up taking over the nursery and, like, shooing
It
them away. So
it's quite interesting that Kathryn Hunter will be doing a deep South accent in this movie, given that she has such a distinctive voice
Yes.
in her natural speaking voice that almost why would you want to not use her natural speaking
Yes, but
voice?
I think just generally playing into the themes of the movie, some of the racist aspects and undertones that are in it, Deep South is kind of where you want to sit to convey
There's a
those.
there's a certain
There's a bit of a
tradition going on.
reputation with that
Yeah,
kind of thing, and so the front room is the fact that that's the room that she kind of takes over, and she kind of has them a bit hostage because, she's paying for everything. She will give them all of her, inheritance and give them all her money and things if they take her in.
right.
So they kind of end up going along with it because even the husband, her stepson, he has a very contentious relationship with her because he remembers her not letting him eat until he sang Jesus loves me convincingly enough to her that like he felt like he
Convincingly enough.
yes, she was like, I need you to sound like you believe it. And if you don't sound like you believe it when you're singing it, you're not going to get to eat. So she would do things like that to him. So he's very much against it, but Belinda, played by Brandy, the wife, she's like, "Well, it'd be nice to have a grandmother around. Seems like she's changed, turned over a new leaf. Maybe you can change too. Financially, we need this as well. Maybe this is the
Yeah.
opportunity to rebuild this relationship." So she's all down with it, but then she kind of starts being weird and being really hyper fixated on the baby and
Mm.
kind of forcing her religious aspects on the family and kind of criticizing Brandy's cooking and really manipulating situations and she's praying, she has this weird church group and things like that. So there are elements that feel very kind of hereditary.
Okay.
But it ended up being way more camp than horror, and so that was kind of a surprise to
Okay.
me. It got a little kind of silly
In
in
a good
moments.
way?
In a good way, yes. So it ended up being far more silly than I expected it to be. It felt like a very kind of silly, campy Hereditary. It didn't get as dark, um,
Mm.
as something like that, um, but, definitely had kind of a fun, ridiculous, campy tone with darker elements. Um, and I think it's directed by, the 2 brothers of what's his name? Eggers, who did, The Lighthouse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's his brothers who
His
wrote
brothers.
yes, who wrote and directed this
Oh,
film.
okay. Interesting.
Um, yeah, so definitely some kind of strange sensibilities, but very kind of silly and campy, but a more straightforward story as well. So I thought it was going to be a dark kind of religious,
Yeah.
kind of possession kind of thing, and it ended up not really being that, but I was still kind of sticking with it.
Well,
So
yeah, I mean, if you want if you want to make a more fun, almost tongue-in-cheek movie, as long as you get the tone right of it,
yeah.
you can have your twisted elements, you can have your slightly
Yes.
darker elements, your crazy elements there. As long as you nail that tone, it doesn't take anything away. You don't have to have dark, horrible,
Yeah, so it
miserable
definitely
movie.
wasn't yeah, so it definitely wasn't as horror as I was expecting it to be, um, and it ended up kind of just being this fun battle almost between the will
Yeah.
of Brandy and the will of Kathryn Hunter's characters, and Kathryn
Okay.
Hunter is just going off the rails and being crazy, and so she's there
Uh,
for a lot of comic relief and some of the darker moments, and you're just looking at this lady like, "This bitch is crazy."
yeah.
So I was into kinda all of that. So I really enjoyed it. I think it's kind of already being phased out of theaters because there's a lot of new things coming out. So I did
Yeah.
end up going to see it at an incredibly late, like 10:30 showing. The theater people probably hated me because it was like me and 2 other people in the theater. Um, but yeah, so I really just wanted to check it out and I enjoyed it. So
Yeah. Well, as you know, as Catherine Hunter is able to do, she is more than willing to go a little bit out there.
yeah.
Um, should the role decide that that's what she's
Yeah.
doing, she's in that small role in Poor Things, kind of
Oh,
most
yeah, mhm.
recently. She's
Yeah,
the brothel owner
broccoli,
in
yeah.
Paris, where she just is incredibly outlandish and
Oh, yeah,
full of tattoos and wearing these outrageous kind of outfits.
yeah.
And speaking of witches, she's really quite good as the three witches in Denzel's Macbeth.
Ah, okay.
Um, she plays the three wing, contorts herself in all
Yeah,
these weird kind of ways, and obviously with her speaking voice, it's a little bit witchy anyway.
yes.
So it fits our witch theme for
And she's
today.
playing
In
a
respect.
witch watcher type character in the Harry Potter
Well,
series.
exactly. Yeah, she's not quite a witch. In the movie, a squib is
Yes,
Mrs. Fig,
yes.
but involved with witches, I suppose, in a
Like a
way.
little lookout support for Harry.
Yeah. Um, Fun. Okay, interesting. We
Yeah.
we 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 would have fun with the front room. I think a movie that I watched this week for my thing, as I said in the intro, it's nice to have large name directors, big name directors that you still need to finish
Fill
off
some gaps, yeah.
fill some gaps in, finish off the filmographies of, and John Carpenter's one of those. There's still a couple that
Oh,
I'm waiting
yeah.
on. He doesn't have a massive filmography when you think about it. It's a very easy one to actually complete,
Yeah.
but I definitely do still need to fill a couple of gaps. But did do one this week. I watched Assault on Precinct 13.
Yes. Yes.
1976, which I think was the one he made before Halloween in 78. I don't think there was one
Before
between
yeah.
Assault and Halloween.
Yeah.
Speaking of Halloween, Charles Cyphers is in,
Mhm.
Lee Brackett, he is
Yeah.
in Assault on Precinct 13 for a little bit there, but it is a very nasty little movie.
Oh, yeah, it's dark.
Um, Perfectly 70s urban dirty grittiness
Yeah.
of just everything being a complete hellhole. I mean, look at what he goes on to do in a little bit more of a fantastical sense in Escape from New York and things like that, where New York is just, trash everywhere and things on fire.
Yeah, those are
And
definitely the gap films for me. I have not seen the escape films.
oh, okay. And but he's the visual idea
Yes,
of
of just grimy, gritty, desolate, bleak.
urban wasteland.
Yes, yeah.
He, I think he kind of enjoys a bit of an urban wasteland, and Assault on Precinct 13 is a far more realistic, a far more down to earth
Yeah, like, I
version of
always
that.
love yeah,
We're in LA, we're in South LA, a really
yeah.
horrible neighborhood. This relentless, almost mute gang
Dang,
who's
yeah,
just
it's
comes
attacking
in and
this
lays.
small police station with only a small group of people, and then we get this kinda really fun, unexpected team up with the prisoners.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
lays siege to this almost defunct police
yeah,
precinct. There's certainly quite a lot of elements, I think, of Night of the Living Dead to
yeah,
Assault on Precinct 13, which is quite fun, but definitely a more action-based 70s action
yeah.
movie. Does not hold back in the slightest. I mean, how many movies can you think of that straight up show a 9-year-old girl getting shot,
Yeah.
which it doesn't even remotely hold back from.
No,
Like,
definitely doesn't. Yeah.
big blood splatter
Very
falls to the
brutal.
ground, no
Mhm.
cutaway, there it
Yeah.
is. One of
Yeah.
the members of the gang just straight up murders a
Little
9-year-old girl
girl.
after she
Yeah.
gets an ice cream. It's really, really horrible. Only in the 70s
Yeah.
can this sort of
Something
stuff
like that
seemingly
happened.
be done.
Yeah, I watched it for the first time when I was on this kinda '70s kick because I had just watched all of the Dirty Harry movies and really loved them, and I didn't wanna leave that
Yeah.
kind of space. So I was looking for other things and realized I had never seen this movie, so I decided to watch it a few years ago and really enjoyed it because I always love kind of this reluctant, unexpected team up that ends up really working well, and these people kind of finding common ground in these desperate moments and working together. It's
Yeah.
always really
I
fun.
mean, it's exactly what it is because 'cause you're dealing with, obviously, a group of very different people.
Yeah,
A new police lieutenant, your lead of the movie, played by Austin Stoker, death row criminals,
yeah.
one Napoleon Wilson, is the character's name, great
Yeah,
name,
so good.
um, who they're constantly trying to figure out how come he's such a dangerous criminal because he seems so sensible and
Yeah.
normal, and there's you're not a they constantly say, like, you're not a psychopath, you're not, like,
Yeah.
angry, you're not dangerous,
It's like, "What are
like,
you doing here?" Yeah.
why are you doing this? And he's kind of making tongue-in-cheek jokes to them and being saying, well, maybe I'll tell you sometime, and then all waxing lyrical about this
Yeah.
story of him and a priest when he was younger, and the priest saying to him, "You have death on you, son," and that coming to pass eventually, given the
Yeah.
fact that he is a
He's there
murderer.
where he is. Yeah.
Tony Burton, Apollo's trainer from Rocky,
Yeah.
is in the movie quite
Yeah.
entertainingly as well. But it's similar to Night of the Living Dead in that sense, where you're getting different people, different
Kind of coming
ideas
together in a
coming
very
together
difficult
to
situation, yeah.
very difficult situation to try and obviously protect
Survive
themselves
the night, yeah.
and get out. But the best thing about it is it fully embraces the griminess of those kind of movies. You
Yeah.
expect it from John Carpenter, you expect it from quiet 70s action movies.
Yeah.
I suppose what I didn't expect was it to maybe be as quiet as it is. I think there's a lot of times where it's quite, it spends a lot of time philosophizing. I think it spends a lot of time thinking and
Yeah.
talking to each other
Yeah.
and trying to get to really understand each other's mentality while you're being, kind of
Yeah.
slowly hounded by this
The thing,
very
yeah.
interesting gang. I mean, they are completely dehumanized, this
Yeah.
gang. They don't speak to each other. The first time we see them, they're doing this sort of blood pact thing and slicing their
Yeah.
own arms and putting them into this bowl as I can't even understand why they just seem
Yeah.
to want to do this. And then driving around shooting
Shooting just
children.
yeah, it's so sad.
It's sad, but it's completely relentless. You're
Like
impressed by the
yes,
relentless nature of it.
and you need that to really kind of root for this little precinct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. I
Yeah,
think
well,
it's a great
hey.
movie. I'm very
Mhm.
happy to have finally watched it
People.
because I like those kind of movies. They can be, they can be shocking to
Yeah.
watch at times. 70s style dirty action movies because they tend to be quite graphic,
Yeah.
but worthwhile. So, because would you rather have it like that and have more impact, or would you rather have it cut away from things and have less of an impact as an action movie? Like it's almost a commentary piece. And I think John Carpenter films are often commentary
Oh, yeah.
pieces.
Mhm.
of, what's going on in the world. People are evil, sort yourself out, crime is rampant kind
Yeah.
of ideas. Assault on Precinct 13 is exactly that. Sort out your crime issues,
Yeah.
major US cities in the 70s, which to an extent, they did. But obviously in the 70s, it's quite rife.
Yeah.
So there you go. Assault on Precinct
Yeah.
13. Very nice. It does have a remake as well, I think 2005-ish.
Yeah.
Ethan
Mhm.
Hawke, I want to say, is in that movie.
And then is it no, not why am I did he get back with no, because there's I always confused Assault on Precinct 13 with The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
I
And so
think
there's
it's
like
understandable.
yes, and so, like, I think the mix of actors, it's like Ethan Hawke and I think Denzel Washington maybe, and Lawrence Fishburne, and, like, so I'm just like, I muddle the remake actors together on who's in what.
Well, the remake of Assault on Precinct 13, yes, it is Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah,
It is not Denzel
okay.
Washington by the look of it,
I
so
think I'm
he must
thinking
be.
of, that train one, which feels similar to those movies as well. I don't can't remember what it's
I
called, but
now don't know what you're talking about, admittedly, but I do know it's a good movie, and you should
yes,
watch the movie.
yes.
And maybe throughout spooky season, even though it's not a horror movie, and
It's
John
pretty
Carpenter
gruesome.
doesn't only make horror movies,
Yeah,
obviously. Quite a lot of sci-fi and action in there as well, of course, but very genre focused.
yes.
As we begin to get in, maybe a couple more John Carpenter gap fill movies may
Yeah.
come about
Maybe.
in my viewing. It'd be quite exciting to do, I
Yeah.
think. The more sci-fi ones, because the horror ones I obviously have seen.
Yes.
Maybe a Dark Star or something like that
Okay.
that I
I
haven't,
like that.
might be worth watching. But yes, there we go. I think for today's What's Up, as we
Yeah.
move into our witchy Let's Talk, Jeannine, and Agatha All Along,
Those
because
the
the
MC.
MCU's latest television show has had its 2-episode premiere.
Yes.
Now, I think conveniently its finale will be the week of Halloween, or like the day before Halloween, or maybe Halloween itself. I don't quite know
Halloween's, like,
when.
on a Wednesday, so if this show's premiering on Thursdays, it'll be, like, the 1st or maybe?
Or like the
Or
day, yeah, maybe the
or the
day
week
after or the week
yeah.
before. But a good time, obviously, for this
Yeah.
kind of show to come about. I was interested in it, and I know it's quite interesting to think that about how little of the MCU I have watched. I've been privy
Yeah,
to
I
in the
mean,
past
I don't
year or
even
so.
think you didn't even go see Deadpool and Wolverine, did you?
No, I didn't, and I know this will come as you know, sacrilege to some people, but I know other people will be thinking the same as me, and just
Yeah,
kind
you
of a
just tell
case of
yourself that.
you're just I'm going to tell myself this, but you're kind of understanding it because of everything that obviously went into to mentally watching all these movies, following all these stories,
Yes,
being
and then
so heavily invested, and then even the ones a couple of years ago, 18 months ago, that did even themselves feel like finale movies. A Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 felt like a finale movie in a sense, didn't it? And I think that was the last one that I actually watched,
yeah.
MCU anything.
Oh, wow,
So
okay.
I really
Yeah,
do
I
think it
I
was.
I try to kinda keep up. I think the only thing I've really missed was Loki season 2, I never watched that. I think maybe if a few more What If like, I think another maybe season of What If came out, and I don't think I saw
Yeah.
that. I did watch Echo, um,
Okay.
So, I've been trying to kinda, like, gradually really kinda keep up with things. I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, nothing really. I watched the Marvels, which was really just such a letdown because I love those characters, and,
Yeah.
they really had an opportunity to do something great with that, but, it just didn't have a chance with kind of the climate at the time, and, um
As people are
yeah.
terrible.
Yes. So, yeah, I think post Endgame, what we've been getting hadn't been all that great. So, yes, understandable why people would kind of give up on a lot of MCU stuff kind of going forward. But
Maybe I mean,
uh,
maybe now it's just more about finding the individual ones that genuinely interest you,
yeah,
because
just
something
kind of
like
cherry pick. And I mean,
Agatha.
yes, and I think this being a spinoff of one of the Disney Plus shows that people really enjoyed,
Yeah.
definitely helps a show get a jump on, other MCU things, for sure. So,
But it's also
I
a
think
very specific genre and a very specific style and a very specific tone and
yes, and at the
idea.
perfect time of, the spooky season buildup as well. And I
Yeah,
think
it's
generally people
hardly a
yeah.
superhero show,
Yes,
it's a
no, and I
witch
think that's
show.
why people liked WandaVision because it was kind of this really clever reimagining of characters we know while also kind of advancing the stories of the MCU. So it was doing this double duty, whereas Agatha All Along feels inherently its own thing, but still giving those really interesting sensibilities that we got from WandaVision. It
Yeah,
opening, like, just jumping right off the bat in this first episode, not really telling us anything, not giving us any kind of recap, just jumping into this police procedural, which
yeah.
I'm told was meant to kind of be this replica of Mayor of Easttown, which that HBO show with
Okay.
Kate Winslet that I haven't watched, but I kind of got the vibe of
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I'm familiar with the show.
Yes. So, that's kind of what this police procedural type thing was meant to replicate in the beginning. So you after that kind of thing, when you see those opening credits and you realize the names are the characters of the show, then you're
Yeah.
like, and then it says, Agnes of West, uh,
Agnes of Westview.
Westview. I'm like, I couldn't remember the name of the town. Then you know what's happening here, and so you don't really need any kind of big context. So I love that we just jump right into it. And then we kind of get these weird glitches just like Wanda had when she was in her kind of fake reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that they don't
Obviously,
waste
I
any
think
time.
no, they don't, but I also think, they can't waste as much time as I think WandaVision did. I think what it took 3 episodes of WandaVision to really get any sort of major glitch go on. It was kind of I remember the first episode of that at the very, very end, there being a little weird thing on the ground, and that was it. And
Yeah.
then barely anything again in that second one, to the point where you were just kind of vibing with the different sitcoms, different decades
Yeah.
style of it. This obviously isn't like that because it's not the same story. It's not the same
No,
idea.
but we're still kind of replicating a specific kind of genre of television type thing.
Yeah,
So we're still kind of hearkening back to an element of something familiar from WandaVision that we loved, but uh, now we're kind of in a modern time of that. So yeah, I think it was really smart this kind of beginning sequence of the first episode before she kind of comes to the realization and is able to be broken out of this spell kind of by the end of the episode.
yeah, because it's still very much, mysterious, still very much
Yeah.
a mystery idea. I'm not quite sure, certainly after the first episode, I wasn't quite sure why things were happening, what was going on, um, exactly how long Agatha had been
Under
trapped
the
in this
yeah, that Wanda had
reality,
kept her.
because
Mhm.
obviously, at the at the end of WandaVision, she does kind of get trapped, and Wanda is left with the Darkhold. We see Wanda in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness
Yeah.
do all the crazy stuff she does in that, and we almost forget about Agatha. Like, where is Agatha? She's left in this fake reality,
Yeah.
seemingly, as we learn, for about 3 years,
Yeah.
which is very startling to Agatha and takes her a while to get herself out of it, to will herself out of it with the help of a particularly evil looking Aubrey Plaza,
Oh, yeah.
um, who I do enjoy and just fits the concept of being a slightly violent witch very
Yes, like,
perfectly.
I'm surprised she hasn't played kind of roles like this more, of like these evil witch characters, and, like, I think she, like, loves witches. I think she actually has, like, a best-selling children's book called The Christmas Witch that she wrote.
Okay.
She already kind of invokes that type of energy, and people have talked about her role in the FX show Legion, which was, like,
Yeah.
based off of a character from the X-Men universe. And that she was really good on there, and her role there is reminding people, her role in this is reminding people of that. I never watched that show, but, so yeah, like, I think people are excited to see her kind of delve into something kind of kooky and weird and dark like this. So, yeah, I like
Yeah.
the dynamic, and I think people are also getting a bit of a homoerotic energy between, uh,
Quite possibly.
Agatha and Aubrey Plaza's character, which is very, interesting and fun. So, yeah, she kind of I love the scene where she comes to the realization, and she, strips away all these clothes, and it's like her different looks throughout the different timelines that she was doing in WandaVision,
Yeah.
especially when they do the black and white her, and just the amount of kind of effects they were gonna have to do to make her black and white in this colored space, have the swinging light in the room kind of
Yeah.
affect her when she's this different color grading. It all looked really cool. And then for
Yeah,
her to kind
it
of
did.
completely strip naked, um, at the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's quite unusual for the MCU, I suppose, for
Yeah. I mean, she was
such.
saying, like, talking about eat my ass and stuff like that. I was like, "Okay," and, dead
She was, I
bodies,
mean,
and so I was like,
the
"Okay."
they're
Yeah.
willing to go further than they ever were, I think,
Yes. Thanks to
which
probably Deadpool and Wolverine. They're
possibly, but
so,
for me is
yeah,
only a good thing because
yeah,
it allows you to open up to
natural.
more
Yes.
types of things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It allows everything to feel a bit more genuine, feel a bit more different to all that
Yeah, not
came
super
before.
kind of
And
restricted. Yeah.
no, and we need that. We need
Yeah.
these things that come out now from Marvel to feel significantly different to what they did in the past, because people some people are already way too tired of all this sort of stuff, of
Yeah.
course, as we've said. And the last thing I want, frankly, is to have more of the same.
Yeah.
And this is very much not more of the same. It's look, we don't get much plot in these first two episodes. I don't think it's kind of sets us off by the end of the second, and we'll get there um, into what we assume is going to be the predominant story of Agatha all along. The
Yeah.
idea of it, which essentially is to get Agatha her full powers back, almost get the dark hold back, the
Yeah.
evil spell book,
Kind of
and
keep
her.
this kind of crazy group of witches that are coming after her, stop
Yeah,
them. Yeah. So she does kind of
and
put together this coven of old witches that she knew, who all kind of have a bit of a grudge with her. So the whole second episode is about introducing these new characters that are gonna be her coven. So we see her kind of making these stops to each one to, kind of open this portal to this
Yeah.
very special kind of witch's road. And we also have this teen character who comes in, and he is
Mm.
instrumental in kind of breaking her out of this spell. And, whenever he talks about himself or tries to say who he is to her, like, something stops it. So there's something
Yeah.
kind of interesting about his character they're not telling us. I think he's only known as teen. I think subtitles say his name is Billy. So very much a mystery with this character. So I think people have speculated, when she was in the kind of crime show uh, thing, she went into a room of a child she seemingly lost. Nicholas Scratch is the name we see, which is
Yeah.
um, the name of her son. And I think, that's also kind of like a code name of the devil. And in the comic books, that was the name of the Agatha character's son. So people are speculating that he might be some version reincarnated of her son, or
Or
something
or
like that.
some or some falsely created
Yeah.
version to
Mhm.
try
To
and
trick her or
tempt
something.
to
Yeah.
trick her, to tempt her in a different direction, to, the all these dark cloaked evil witches that you end up seeing towards the end of the second episode.
Yeah.
What if they've got something to do with bringing him into this world, putting
Yeah,
him into this situation, and
and kind of
maybe
using him.
he
He maybe not be aware of the fact that he's being used as this kind of vessel.
but maybe he's not even a body.
Yeah,
Maybe he's just a pure spirit, and you
yeah,
just don't know.
yeah, because
That
it's very
it's
strange that, when he tries to say his name to her, who he is, talk about his life and his parents and things like that, like, all of that becomes muted to her when she tries to hear
yeah,
it. So, definitely some interesting mysteries around him, but I love kind of the dynamic of her coven and them all kind of being antagonistic with each other. Um
yeah. It's because she is seemingly just found a way to annoy every other witch
Yes,
in the
they're all
US.
not happy to see her. And even when she kind of goes to recruit them, she does something to, like, ruin their business or, get
Yeah,
them in trouble somehow, get them fired or something. So, um, how she's able to even bring them together, is pretty fun. And then the whole scene where they're singing the chant to try to kind of open this
yeah,
portal. Um, and we do have a big Broadway star, so I was like, "Okay, we're giving her an opportunity
yes,
to show her chops in singing as well." And then at the end of it, they're all kind of, like, criticizing each other for being flat and not singing good, which is fun. So I like that there's this good balance of comedy for sure.
oh
And I
yeah,
like that the second episode was a good establishment of these characters and the dynamic we were gonna see between them. So, it just was enough to get us to kind of want to know more. And they also kind of bring back that Mrs. Hart character, who was in
yes,
WandaVision. So we kind of learn her husband has since passed, and she's kind of roped into it because she just needs an extra body and she doesn't really know what's going on. So it's going to be fun to have this perspective of a character who's just kind of like, okay, okay, I'm here hanging out, I guess, like, kind of
yeah.
thing.
Is it
So,
something like, well, she's not a witch, she's just
no,
like a good gardener, and they need somebody who's good with plants,
yes,
basically.
yeah.
They supposedly need a witch, an earth witch who's good at growing and doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so they just kinda
So,
she's tagging
is
along, so I
this.
like that she's very much confused when they're singing, like, "Am I supposed to know the words? Like, what's going on?" So, that's gonna be kind of fun dynamic to throw into the mix of these witches who are just trying to kind of refamiliarize themselves with each other after so
Yeah,
much time, so,
but it's also kind of seemingly a selfish plot on Agatha's point,
yeah,
because she's going after this Darkhold for herself, she's going after her powers for herself.
yeah,
Like, all these other witches are aware of this.
yeah.
Why are they there? Why are they there? Are they there
Like
because there's going to result in some sort of battle for the Darkhold, and each of them want the
yes, and
Darkhold, and it's
maybe
all
they
this
all
kind of
have
stuff?
their own maybe they all have their own motivations and they're just biding their time. Maybe they're
Yeah.
hoping it leads to some great power that they can cultivate for themselves. So I feel like maybe they're all going into it with selfish motivations, but maybe by the end they'll actually kind of form this trustworthy coven with each other and there'll be some complications and personal plans to betray one another because now there's going to be, like, actual emotion for each other involved, who knows? So,
I
I'm
mean, you
excited to
wonder
see
if
where it goes from her.
yeah, I mean, but you wonder if it ends up in that place with some sort of powerful coven. I mean, where it can possibly go from there. I mean, for God's sake, how many different threads this universe possibly has at this point is quite ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's almost this level, this slightly smaller level of story that interests me more. I want to see this level, and I want to, the magic sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I like that. I like Wanda, Doctor Strange, and
yeah,
things of that nature. And these two episodes of Agatha
yeah,
very much interest me, tone wise, scale wise. And I also tend to enjoy, like, I'll be watching the Daredevil show. I will be watching the
yeah.
Daredevil show, because that sort of scale I enjoy as well. Um, it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more concise and
Yes, and I'm curious to see how it's
limited.
going to work, in this new non-Netflix place where it was kind of able to be really
Yeah.
raw. I mean, getting to see even just a little bit of him in She-Hulk, I really enjoyed him, and that got me
Oh,
excited to, um
absolutely.
to see him,
Yeah.
come back, and I think he'll work, especially in seeing them do push, the boundaries a little bit and just, we'll just change our rating system a little bit on,
Yeah.
our Disney Plus show and make it as gritty as it needs to be. So,
Well, that's the thing, Daredevil's not Deadpool. You don't have to be giving it all the foul language every 3 seconds,
yeah.
do you? That's not what Daredevil's he's a good boy, Daredevil.
Yes.
He's a good Catholic boy, is Matt
Yes. But he
Murdock.
likes
But
the
he's incredibly
ladies,
violent. He's
and he likes the
incredibly violent,
ladies. So,
and he likes the ladies. You need a lot of violence and a little bit of sexiness in a Daredevil
yeah,
show.
yeah,
You need all that. You don't need all the vulgar language and the silly jokes and things like that. No, no, no. We don't need that, but we do need a certain level of brutality.
yeah.
Um, leave a little bit of vulgarity, maybe to something more like Agatha.
Yeah.
Weirdly, because I think Catherine Hahn's able to bring that sort of energy.
Yeah.
You know, we see her get completely stark naked to the shock of the
Oh,
entire
yeah.
neighborhood in the show. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very unusual for
Yes.
this world, this universe, this type of media to show something like that. I mean, not that you show anything really,
Yeah, but it
but
wasn't used as kind of like a, you know, in any kind of way. She kind of had control of her being naked because I think even the neighbor tries to cover her and she like is like, "No, like don't
yeah,
cover me." So it's very much a powerful stance in her just stripping down like that. So I like that they kind of
yeah,
conveyed it in that way. And just funny to learn that like while she was acting out this whole Mayors of Easttown situation, like, it was literally all in her head, and people were just kinda playing along with her, and she had kind of these fake props and just kinda,
yeah.
like, thought she was
Um,
really doing something. Yeah.
that's that's the very much WandaVision elements of it all, though,
Yeah,
isn't it? Because that is what WandaVision was, where Wanda was creating characters for
yeah,
each of the people that she was completely overwhelming in this one
yeah,
town. Agatha doesn't have the luxury of control at the
yeah,
beginning of this show at all. Agatha has no control.
yeah,
Um, that's what she's trying to get. But absolutely very interesting first couple of episodes. Unfortunately, we don't get the song. I would hope at some point we do get the song that we have to sing, because
Yeah.
it's a great song. And the whole jokes of the title of Agatha All Along anyway, being Agatha All Along, and them having 14 different name changes of the title just
Oh,
for it to end
yeah,
up
it was
as
like
Agatha All Along
it was like Coven of Chaos and all kinds of things, yeah.
is definitely a joke,
Yeah,
because it was Agatha All
all
Along.
along. It was the title, yes, was meant to be the
That's the
title.
title.
Yeah,
It was
that's so
always
funny.
meant to be the
Yes.
title, because everything's Agatha All Along.
Yes,
So why by the end of this show can't it be
just that.
Agatha All Along?
Yes, but I guess because the song was playing into kind of this Munsters vibe, and they don't wanna kind of connect it to a specific era of time, I guess, I don't know.
But it's a good
It's so good,
song.
it's really good,
I
yeah.
mean, the witchy ballad, "Let's All Sing Together to Open This Portal" song is quite a
Yes,
nice
and the
song as well,
harmonizing, yeah.
admittedly.
Mhm. Yeah.
But no, I genuinely did enjoy it. It was quite nice to be back into the MCU, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because I have just completely forgotten about a lot of its existence in my mind, in my mentality.
Yeah,
Like, obviously, I was aware Deadpool and Wolverine was a thing that came out.
yeah,
You couldn't exactly not be. We
yeah,
did speak about it a little bit on this show as well, of
yeah.
course. Um, but mentality, I was just checked out. And maybe Agatha's checking me back in,
Okay.
which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
I hope it's a good thing,
Yeah.
because I don't want messiness, and I don't want 40,000 different, lines of story that
Yeah.
somehow have to be brought back together in some lunatic way because of all the craziness going on in front of and behind the camera.
Yeah.
It still doesn't make sense to me how you can possibly conclude everything that's going on at the moment in the MCU, because it's so not streamlined,
Yeah.
and it's constant introductions to new stories, seemingly.
Yeah.
But, maybe some people who we don't realize have had the end of their stories,
Maybe.
and we just aren't aware that that was the
That's the
actual end
end.
of their story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think will be wise, but I just think maybe the public needs to be told that. So you don't get people like me who are thinking, well, how can they possibly do this and 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 this
Yeah.
and this and this and bring them all together? It's like,
It's a
no,
lot. Yeah.
it's too much. Good start to the show, though, Agatha
Yeah.
All Along. I like it. It's purple, it's witchy, it's spooky, it's
Yay.
good.
Yeah.
We enjoy it. Which games, I think, Jeannine, for fun and games. Which
Yes.
games are we playing? Yes, that's right. Which games are we playing today? On I always like making stupid jokes when it
Yes,
comes
I
to the word
appreciate
witch.
it.
You do know that, don't you? Which is
Which is
which,
which. Yes.
and which are we playing? Which is which? A little bit, I suppose,
Okay.
aren't we? Today. Now, I like you. You obviously like to go first on fun and games, as we always
Yes,
do. But
always.
what do you have for me today for a
Um,
game?
well, I'm gonna have you take a quiz to find out
A quiz.
which 90s witch you are. So you're gonna
Oh,
answer a series of fun
exciting!
questions, and it will tell you
I like
which
it.
90s witch you are.
I like it. Well, I have a list game. I
Okay.
know you like your list
Yeah.
games, Janine. So I have the 21 best witch
Oh my
movies of
goodness.
all
Okay.
time. Now, this is done in decades. So what we're going to do
Oh,
is I'm going to give you a decade, because this is how this list works, and you're going
Okay.
to decide which witch movie you think is one of the 21 best witch
Oh,
movies from
goodness.
this particular decade. Not from the particular decade, like the 21 best witch movies is from all time.
Okay.
But this list just is structured into decades rather than, say, 21 through to 1.
Okay.
So it's not ranked in any way. So from the 1920s, what do you think would be in the 21 best witch
Ooh,
movies ever?
1920s.
1920s.
What is that
It's a
movie
movie,
that
admittedly, that I want to see, that I actually own, that I still haven't seen.
is it that movie with that really good makeup effect with that laughing old lady?
No, it's
Mm,
not. I don't think that's from the I know the movie you're talking about.
yeah. No, I don't know
No,
anything from the 20s. It's a little too
this is
early for me.
Hacksan.
See
Hacksan.
see,
It's a
that
Swedish movie, a
mm,
Danish movie,
okay.
or Swedish movie. Why don't I know if it's Danish or Swedish? That's very annoying. Scandinavian. Let's be sensible and say that. Yeah, it's a movie. That's a movie I genuinely really do want to see. It's that kind of part documentary, part narrative, weird. It's all about witchcraft through the ages movie.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely want to see that. So the 1930s.
Mm.
Now, keep in mind, when it says witch movies, it can just have a witch in it.
Okay, so then you're probably gonna say The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yes. The 1940s, there's one movie.
Mm, I Married a Witch?
I Married a Witch, yes, of course, with Veronica Lake. Very nice. Yes. In the 1950s, there is one movie.
Um, Bell, Book, and Candle?
Bell, Book and Candle, yes, with Tim Novak and Jimmy Stewart. Very nice. Good witch movie. I remember covering these
Yeah,
on
we
the
did it. We did a lot of these on the Witch series on the main show.
Witch series.
Mhm.
The 60s, I
Ooh,
disagree that one of these is a witch movie, to be honest with you, but the 60s, there are two movies
2?
here, both of which have been covered on the main show.
Really? Did I cover them?
Possibly not.
Ooh,
Possibly not.
is this in the 60s? Bedknobs and Broomsticks?
Bedknobs and Broomsticks is not there for the 60s, but it is there for the 70s because
Ah,
it was
okay.
from
1970,
1971.
okay,
So yes,
okay.
absolutely. We're
60s.
looking at a very good horror movie, a very good horror movie, that I just don't think is a witch movie. It's a
Mm,
Satanist movie.
oh,
It's not a witch movie, as far as I'm concerned. It is made by somebody we don't like.
oh, Rosemary's Baby?
Rosemary's Baby
They're
is not a
considering
witch
that a
movie, is
witch
it?
movie?
It's not a witch
No,
movie at all. And there is an Italian movie
No,
here
then I probably
in
wouldn't
the
know
early
unless
60s. Black Sunday,
okay, yeah, no, I've never heard of that.
Barbara Steele. A good movie, a really good movie, incredibly overly gothic,
Okay.
and has that opening scene where Barbara Steele gets a spiked helmet hammered onto her face
Oh my
on a tree.
gosh.
It's very good. Mario Bava. The 70s, you of course named Bedknobs and Broomsticks, but there is one other movie from the 70s here that is definitely one of the best witch movies
Oh,
ever made.
really?
Yes, 100. But I think our two from the 70s here, in Bedknobs and Broomsticks and this movie, are two of my favourite movies of all, just generally, really.
Really?
And
Oh, is it
why
the
would you laugh?
Witchfinder General?
Not The Witchfinder General, that's from the 60s and a good movie. Although not technically about witches,
Okay.
and that's from the 60s.
Oh, okay.
No, this is 77.
Oh,
77.
and I would know this movie?
Oh, you would know this movie. You would definitely know this
Really?
movie. Yes, you would 100. You
Did we
have
cover
watched
it on
this
the
movie. It has been covered on the show
but you don't think I
in a
covered
quite
it?
in quite a special um special version of the show. This was covered. It's so good. It's if I say one phrase, you'll get it immediately. But
What?
it's so witchy.
1977, covered on the show. Very good. I would have seen it. I don't
Not
know.
covered on the main show. Not covered on the main show.
So we covered it on Morgan Hasn't Seen?
Technically, yes.
What does that mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
70s.
If I say sensory overload to you,
Did we cover it in the Witch series?
no.
Ooh.
If I say it had a remake in the last 10 years,
What? Why am I not being able to
that
put
was
this
also good but very different.
why am I not able to put this together?
If I say it's got a very memorable theme, it's constantly neon lit.
What?
It's set in a dance academy.
Oh, Suspiria.
Suspiria, yes, thank you very
Yes,
much.
it was on the Jeannine Hasn't Seen
It
series.
was, it
Yes.
was. There are 4 movies from the 1980s on this list.
Oh, goodness. Teen Witch.
Teen Witch is there, yes, of course it is. Why would it not be? Great movie.
What else?
Uh,
It's in the 80s.
I didn't know this was a witch movie, just kind of maybe a magical movie rather than a witch movie, but there's other ones.
Oh, I can
Any
think of
more clues, perhaps?
yes, yes.
One's a British TV movie based on books that was also a TV show. It's got Tim Curry in.
What?
It's called The Worst Witch. Have you heard of The
Okay.
Worst Witch?
Vaguely. Like, it sounds
It's a
vaguely
good.
familiar.
Yeah, I remember the TV show. One is a very good movie, a great cast. Again, we're dealing with kind of a devilish character, but definitely witchy.
Okay.
From 1987,
Mm.
and then we've got an animated movie that I mean I haven't seen these movies, so I've seen the 87 movie, but not the 80,
Was
not
this
the animated
80s?
movie.
Was it 80s or was it 90s?
Well, you can get
Witches
some 90s ones in
Witches of
there.
Eastwick?
Witches of Eastwick is 87, yes.
Okay.
Witches of Eastwick is there. And the animated one, I might give you Kiki's
Okay.
Delivery
Oh,
Service.
okay. Yes, I've never seen that.
90s, we've got quite a few here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that a witch movie? 5, 6, 7
Well,
movies
you
from
might be one of these
90s.
witches then. These are your witches for your quiz.
Ah, my witches. Okay. So witches of Eden.
Practical magic?
Practical magic is there, yes.
What else? I'm trying to think. I think, like, so far there's 3 from the witch series we did. Like, what was the 4th one? Because we did Teen Witch, we did Practical Magic.
It's got your girl from Scream.
Oh, The Craft. Yeah, that was the
Craft
4.
is
We did
there.
The Craft, we did Teen Witch, we
And
did Practical Magic, and
we're
Witches
also
of
looking
Eastwick.
at a movie that, okay, technically a witch movie, although you wouldn't necessarily think of it as a witch movie. And then we're also thinking about maybe a couple of family Halloween type movies.
What, like Halloween Town and things?
Halloween Town's there, yes.
Okay.
And yeah, more think more family witches,
Oh, Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus,
Yes.
and from a couple of years before Hocus Pocus, few years before, very
Mm,
early 90s, based on a book, family witches, not family of witches, a family
but a
movie
family
about
kind of witch.
witches,
Oh.
based on a children's book. Angelica Houston in it.
Oh, the witches,
The Witches,
yes,
yes.
yes.
And
Terrible
then,
movie.
a movie we have covered on the show, reasonably
Still in
recently,
the
actually.
90s?
Still in the 90s here. I wouldn't consider it a witch movie as much as I would consider it a spiritually psychic movie, and certainly a magic-based movie, I suppose. But I wouldn't necessarily. I'd struggle to call it a witch movie. But we've covered it reasonably recently. I very much enjoyed it. I own the movie on Criterion. You bought me the movie
Ooh.
on Criterion. We've
When you
covered it
said
reasonably recently.
supernaturally psychic, I'm like, ghost? That's not even
No,
close to a witch movie.
no, supernaturally
Um,
psychic. Um, quite
I
quite
got it for you.
traumatic. Quite traumatic as a movie. Kind of overcoming a
Oh,
bit of that.
Eve's Bayou.
Eve's Bayou is there, not really a witch movie, is it? You
I
can't really
mean,
call it a witch
Diane
movie.
Carroll was I was like, I guess a
Is she a
witch.
witch or is she a
When
spiritualist?
I was looking at things to do for Witch Game, she came up as a witch in a movie, so
Okay. And then we have late 90s, pretty revolutionary horror movie, technically about a witch, but does not feature a witch.
Ooh.
If I was to say the word found footage to you,
Oh, the Blair Witch Project.
Blair Witch Project. And then we have two movies from the mid 2010s to finish us off.
Oh, mid-2010s, the Vivitch.
The Witch, yes, the witch, yes, of course. And then a movie that I hate that I haven't seen, admittedly,
Oh,
from the same year as The Witch.
oh.
I believe I've just actually bought you a book that featured it quite heavily.
Oh, The Love Witch?
The Love Witch.
Yes, I haven't seen that either.
I hate that I've not seen The Love Witch.
Yeah.
I think
It
I would
was
love The Love
yes.
Witch.
It's definitely giving vibes of just kind of the look of it, of, vampire lovers.
Oh, very nice.
Like,
Okay.
it looks like
Right,
it's
I'm
giving that aesthetic.
I'm ready for my quiz.
Alright, so let's find out which one you we kind of named those films, so you're gonna be one of
Yeah.
those. I mean, might have thrown TV ones in there, so maybe you'll get some witches from
Okay.
Charmed, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
So this is a BuzzFeed quiz. Um, which iconic '90s witch are you?
Okay, let's
So,
find out.
what would happen if people found out you were a witch? It wouldn't bother me. I would put a curse on them. I would teach them all about witchcraft. My life would be ruined. I would be welcomed and accepted. Or they already think I'm a freak, so who cares?
Teach them.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. You gotta spread the witchiness.
Okay. Are you more of a leader or a follower? Leader, follower, neither slash both.
I'd just go neither/both.
Okay.
I can't decide.
All right.
True
Pick
leaders have leadership thrust upon them, don't want to be leaders, thank you. That's a
uh
paraphrased quote from something that I've now forgotten.
pick something. We have a picture of ocean water, a pumpkin, some whipped cream, open book, a backpack, or a floppy disk?
A floppy disk. Not the floppy disk, not the
Okay.
whipped cream. Probably the book.
Okay. All right. How would you prefer to practice witchcraft? Concocting potions, online with other witches, by
Not
just
that one.
pointing my finger, reciting
Mm.
spells with my coven, or all sorts of different ways?
I mean, all sorts of different ways, I suppose.
Okay.
Or potions.
Which one?
Potions.
Okay. All right. Complete the sentence. My outfit is not complete without black tights, something
Yeah,
velvet,
yeah.
a
Mm.
statement necklace, barrettes, sunglasses, or my bag. This is a very gender specific.
Velvet. Velvet. I have to go with velvet then, don't I?
Okay, something velvet. I mean, you could go with my bag.
I don't carry a bag.
Okay.
I'd like to
Well,
point out men can be witches. This is
that is very
offensive.
true. That's very true. Pick your favorite movie genre: romance, horror, sci fi, old classics, teen
That one.
drama, or
I'll
coming of
have.
age.
I'll have that one, please.
Yes, yes. Pick a spot in the house to chill: the patio, the kitchen, room with a computer, bedroom, room with a fireplace, or the closet.
I'll have the fireplace, please.
What do you want most in life? To honor my ancestors, to be happy and successful, to live in a peaceful world, acceptance and a little revenge, love, youth, and beauty.
I'll have the peaceful world, please.
Okay. What, not acceptance with little revenge?
No.
How would your friends describe you? Cool, intelligent, loyal, fun, friendly, or outgoing?
Intelligent. No, I don't know. Yeah, probably, actually.
Intelligent.
But
Okay.
not in a good way.
What do you mean in a
In an
good way?
annoying way.
No, no, I've seen
Like I know
annoying,
stupid
intelligent
things
people.
about things.
That's not annoying. Choose a magical power. Transfiguration, ability to
Ooh.
change one object into another object. Electrokinesis, ability to create and control electricity.
Why
Basic
did you have to
spell.
why did you feel like you had to describe what transfiguration was to me?
It's that's just what it says. It
Oh.
described it on there. So I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
reading the whole just thing. Basic
Oh.
spell casting, ability to make people see things that aren't really there, ability to fly, or
Mm.
none. So what is the point? I don't know. So
Nom.
yes, right?
Not nom.
Yes, that's a choice.
I mean, transfiguration would be quite fun.
Okay.
Basics, but I mean, what are basic spells? Um,
Probably levitating.
Flying. What was the other one?
Ability to make people see things that aren't there, and
No.
electrokinesis.
Flying.
Oh, okay. All right. Choose a hobby: singing, journalism, writing, coding, sleeping, swimming, or hanging with friends slash family.
What was the first one?
Singing,
Say them again. Sorry. There was singing,
singing,
writing.
journalism slash writing, coding, sleeping, swimming, hanging out with friends slash family.
Mm. Is there an option for other?
No,
I guess the last one then.
hanging with friends and family. Okay, describe your fashion style. Carefree. I don't like carefree. I don't like bright colors. I prefer natural tones.
Mm,
It doesn't matter. I always look good. Lots of
mm,
layers.
mm,
Maybe even a cape.
all of
Anything
them.
anything cute or academia inspired. Well, I think
Oh,
several
all
of
of the
these
above.
apply.
All of the above. Let's go academia inspired.
Pick a place to live, somewhere high tech and modern, not where I
No.
live now, anywhere that keeps me looking young, the big city, anywhere my partner goes, a small town with friendly people.
They're not being, like, specific enough. Um, a a small town with friendly people.
Okay.
Sure.
Choose a color.
Do
Purple,
you need to right, you don't need to ask the question. You don't need
blue,
to ask.
lime green, forest green, orange, or black.
Just choose the one.
Purple,
Just
yes.
pick it.
Yes. Choose one more word your friends would use to describe you. Mysterious, caring, rebellious, people pleaser, weird, or confident.
People pleaser. Or maybe that's just what I think I am.
Lastly, do you prefer
Mm.
rain or sunshine? Or
Well,
neither slash both?
I prefer sunshine. It's heat that's the problem.
Okay, so but sunshine is your answer?
Well, yeah, I don't want it to be raining.
Okay. All right. Your 90s witch.
Come on. Come on. Who is it? Is it one I actually know? Is it someone?
All right. And your 90s iconic witch is Aggie Cromwell from
Who the
Halloween.
hell's that? I don't know who that is.
Debbie Reynolds from Halloween Town.
Oh, well, that's okay then. I'll have that. Yeah, that's fine.
You've probably been called weird before, but you always take it as a compliment. You have a deep connection to your family, and no matter where you go, you'll always return to your hometown. Your dream in life is that everyone would just get along and that there would finally be peace on earth. You prefer to wear lots of layers because you've got to be prepared for anything, especially when you live every day like it's Halloween.
I mean, there's a decent chunk of that that's accurate. Fair play. I will be Debbie Reynolds from
Yes.
Halloween Town. That's
Yay.
fine. Yay, witchy. Fun show today on Monday Madness. Always nice to be back
Yes.
here for a great time. Starting the week off right. Not every week. Every other week at the moment. That's how
Yes.
we're doing it on Monday Madness. But it's an exciting time, as it always is. It isn't the only show we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, though, of course, subscribe wherever you are listening to this. If you are, of course, watching this on the It's a Wonderful podcast YouTube channel, subscribe and ding your notification bell for all the other fun stuff we have here, and subscribe obviously on all major podcast platforms to the It's a Wonderful podcast feed for this show. For Morgan hasn't seen it, for the main show, It's a Wonderful podcast itself every week. Always fun we have on everything, really, don't we? If you want to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, there are links in the description to that. Things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen if you are watching, of course. Social media as well. Links are in the description, but you can find us on the app formerly known as Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. Find me there at the Purple Dawn with the 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram and TikTok at the Purple Dawn. All your witchiness is
Ooh.
where?
You can find me at Jeannine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search It's Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com.
There we go. There is indeed only one thing left to do, and we haven't barely mentioned her at all today. But I think it's only right on any witch-based episode for you to close out with an impression of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Oh, goodness.
3, 2, 1. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Bye.
Bye.